Hey guys, how's it going? SpecV here for another video. Today we're going to talk about a comparison between my G35 and my Sentra, what I liked about both, and ultimately if I miss the Sentra more than I like this car. So let's get into it. Basically the Sentra burned down. I was looking for a car for a little while. One of our customers came in and told us that this 08 G35 that they had was salvaged due to the front radiator support and the bumper and the headlight being messed up. Can't believe they salvaged it because of that, but whatever. So I bought it, fixed it all up, now it's mine. What have my impressions been? Let's get into it. So one of the biggest things that I noticed between my Sentra and the G35, ignore the rattling and creaking in the back, I disconnected the muffler from the rest of the exhaust, so you're gonna hear the metal clanging back there. I like how it sounds. Anywho, sorry. Biggest thing I noticed between the two, besides the extra weight of the G35, I think it's like a few 100 pounds more, is the steering. As you guys know, with the Sentras, the steering, because it's electric, it's very light, and it's a little bit hard to tell what exactly is going on with the car through the wheel. The 35 steering is heavier, and you can tell what's going on. It's also a bit more direct and precise, which I do like. Just like going back and forth here, especially through the corners, I can tell when the car has grip and when it doesn't have it. So the Sentra, when I would do autocross, it was very prone to understeer, in my humble opinion. When I put coilovers on it, it definitely was a bit better. But part of the problem with the Sentra during autocross was the electric power steering. You couldn't really feel very much, like I just said. But then the car was also very prone to understeer, which you can definitely fix that when you put better tires on it. But I'm very curious to how the 35 would feel on an autocross course, because of the more of a tendency to oversteer when you really get on it, and the steering response itself. Now, talking about the understeer and oversteer, something I've noticed with the Sentra when I was doing donuts, because those are things you do now when you've had your first rear-wheel drive car. I've noticed that while this car will definitely do donuts all damn day, to actually initiate the doing of said donuts, the car does experience a lot of understeer, I have noticed. So I would like to try to fix that by putting Hotchkiss front and rear sway bars on it, because I've heard sway bars make a massive difference. So we're gonna find out. The Sentra, another thing I noticed, the Sentra, especially after the up rev tune, felt very light on its feet, especially towards the middle to high RPM range. You didn't really feel the weight of the car. This car, even though the VQ35HR has 100 more horsepower than the B16 SpecV's QR25 engine, because of the added weight of this car, it's definitely quicker than the Sentra. But because of the weight, I would have been curious to do a drag race between the two to see which one truly was faster, because in some cases this car does kind of feel a little bit like a boat. So next point, the interior, obviously much nicer. I have power heated leather seats in the 35, and the Sentra was total opposite. So something with the Sentra, and I'm sure a lot of owners have experienced this as well, the seats definitely were not the comfiest by any meaning of the word. When I went to Atlanta twice with the car, the seats weren't horrible at first, but after a while they did start to get hard and not as cushy as they could have been. These seats, I haven't taken an extended drive with it yet, so I can't really remark on the comfort of the seats, but I would assume that they are more comfortable. They definitely have more adjustability, and the heated seats are nice. So that's something I can let you guys know further down the road. In terms of fun fact, actually one more daily driving thing, because this was a huge pet peeve I had with the Sentra, that I would like to know why Nissan did it this way. The Sentra does not have a keyhole in the trunk, nor does it have a button in the trunk. The only two ways to open that damn trunk were the latch on the inside and the button on the key fob. That got really fucking annoying, especially when I was out shopping or just out and about, or I just wanted to detail my car. My detailing shit was in my trunk. This car, I've got the button on the remote, obviously. I have the button here on the dash, but then it actually has a button inside of the chrome spoiler that you can push when the car is locked, I believe it works, and it would pop the trunk open. Just that one little thing made my experience with the car so much better, because it was such a pet peeve I had with the Sentra. I'm thinking Nissan's probably going to say, oh yeah, we didn't give you guys a button in the trunk to save weight. Yeah, bullshit. You didn't give us a button in the trunk to save weight. Yet in the later years of the Sentra, you gave us Bluetooth and navigation, which the base model doesn't have. Riddle me that. So, now in terms of the driving experience with these two cars, obviously I just mentioned the steering aspect, but something that actually really threw me for a loop when I first got this car onto the highway and I really started driving it was I had to make a quick lane change. And sorry, I'm in a parking lot trying not to kill people. I turned very quickly to make a lane change, and I have felt, because rear-wheel drive, the rear of the car followed the car, whereas the Sentra, it was always the front wheels pulling the car. So after I experienced that bit of an odd sensation, I started going back and forth with the wheel like this really quickly, and I felt the car actually want to really oversteer a lot, and I feel as if I had suddenly given the car some gas, I would have kicked the ass end out. I've never experienced that before, but obviously first rear-wheel drive car, it kind of scared the shit out of me. But once you learn how to play with the gas and manipulate the gas when you're on the corners or when you're taking a highway on-ramp or off-ramp, I can see why a lot of people prefer rear-wheel drive. You do seem to have a bit of a better handling characteristic with the car. Now, obviously, the car, well, not obviously to you guys, but the car is completely stock. There's no aftermarket parts on it yet. I said yet. I definitely do miss the coilovers on the Sentra because it was much flatter through the corners. And this car, to a degree, is pretty flat through the corners. The handling aspect was made better when I put the Continental Extreme Contact DW-SO6 pluses on the rear, and the fronts, I haven't done anything with them yet. It definitely made the handling aspect better, and the car is becoming more of a point and shoot type thing, if that makes sense. But like the Sentra is, in my opinion, a sports car in its own right. If this car had been a G35S, to where it would have had either the paddle shifters or the 6-speed manual with the Akebono front and rear brakes and a limited slip diff in the rear, in my opinion, it would have been a sports car. I would have considered it one. So in that aspect, they do feel very similar in the terms of the point and shoot type thing, at least when somewhat modified. Would I have gone out of the way to get this car, though, if I had the Sentra? If I had had the money for this, if I still had the Sentra when this popped up, there's a good possibility I actually still would have bought it, just to have that nice, better daily driver. Or if I just didn't want to, the Sentra, with it being lowered, sometimes getting to certain places was a little bit of a pain in the ass. This car is not like that. So situations like that where I just wanted to avoid that for this one trip. But I would not have traded the Sentra for the G. I actually miss the Sentra over the G sometimes. I missed the 6-speed. I missed the really great brakes ahead. I missed the throttle response that it did have. It was definitely very torquey for what it was as well. Just a unique car. I really do miss it a lot. I would not have traded for the G for that reason, the uniqueness. However, where the G35 vastly outshines the Sentra, and I think I have plenty of fucking room to say something about this. To find anything for the Sentra in terms of engine bay parts, not aftermarket, just OEM, because we've already discussed how difficult finding aftermarket for it is. You have to cross-reference parts with a Nissan Altima, because the B16 Sentras never came with the QR25, other than the SpecV, obviously. So having to cross-reference parts with an Altima kind of sucked, because the motors were just slightly different enough to where I had to really look at the part I was wanting to replace to make sure it matched. Now, brakes, you don't really have a problem finding those. Any other part on the car, especially the transmission or anything transmission related, you're gonna have problems finding stuff for. I have problems trying to find axles for it, which I never replaced the axles, but when I was trying to look into finding the part, I had a hell of a time. This car, with me working for Infiniti, I've never had a single fucking problem finding something. I had to replace the Bank 2? Yeah, the Bank 2 timing cover, exhaust timing cover, because I had popped the code P0014, I believe it is, for the valve solenoid. Sorry, not valve solenoid, but the solenoid that controls the valve timing on Bank 2. And Nissan, sorry, my dealer did have the part. It was too expensive. But them having the part that I needed right at a whim is what makes ownership of this car very nice and relatively stress-free. I never really had that with the Sentra. So that's where ownership of the G is nice. Obviously, the interior is nicer. The whole car is just a bit of an upgrade from the Sentra in those aspects. But if I had the opportunity to get the Sentra back right now, the way it was before everything happened, I would do it in a heartbeat. I would definitely miss the G. I like having the automatic in traffic sometimes, but there's been many, many more times when I'll be on the highway next to one of those big ass sound deadening walls on the highways, and I'll miss having been able to downshift it and floor it and hear my exhaust echoing off the walls. I miss the handling of the Sentra head. I miss the launch control that I put on it through UpRev. I miss a lot of things about that car. So that's why I say that I would have taken the Sentra back over the G. Now, because obviously I can't do that, I love my G. I want a G37S pearl white sedan with the automatic, just because I've learned how nice it actually, if the cup holder situation here is something I meant to mention. These are the cup holders. These are the pieces of shit they are. And I'll put a clip here to show you just how bad they are. Now, to end this out, I think my Sentra and this G are both driver's cars in their own right. And I think which one you get personally really comes down to personal opinion. Like I've said multiple times, I would rather have my Sentra back. But for what I have, the 35, trying to point at it right there, realistically, no fucking complaints. Hell of an upgrade in every single way. So those are my thoughts and opinions on the G. If you like this video, well, please like it, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.